This is Couch Talk with Can Buck. I'm just laying here, I'm bored, I'm not really doing anything. Of course, there are things that I could be doing and should be doing, but I'm not doing them. And you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about this Steam Deck, you know, and the Nintendo Switch. And I saw something today, I don't know, just scrolling through my feed. I saw something interesting, that claimed that the Steam Deck and the Switch service different audiences, and that, according to this person, Valve said that the Steam Deck and the Switch are not competitors. And that's half true, half, well, just not true. Um, because, like, sure, the Switch does um, appeal more to, of course, Nintendo fans, but also families and kids, especially. Um, of course, not in the durability of the thing, but in the overall vibe of it. But really, if you look past that and see who the Switch and the Steam Deck appeal to, I would venture to say that there's a lot of overlap. And I think Valve is just saying that because they don't want to publicly go up against the what may turn out to be the best-selling video game console of all time. Um, so let's start out by saying that this Nintendo Switch is a handheld. I'm going to refer to it as a handheld simply because, I mean, it's a handheld that hooks up to the TV. It's not a home console that you can really take with you. There's some debate about that. It's kind of subjective. But the way I rationalize my thinking is that if the Switch was just a home console, it probably would have sold less than the Wii U. If the Switch was just a handheld, it probably would have sold a little less, but it probably would have still sold really well. Probably better than the 3DS. Um, so I guess I don't know. That's the way I rationalize it. I see it as more successful as a handheld than a home console. So I'm going to refer to it as a handheld, and the Steam Deck doesn't even have a dock yet. I know through the magic of USB-C, you can hook it up to a monitor. Shit, hiccups. But yeah, we're just gonna call them both handhelds because that's the gimmick. That's the gimmick. Um, so if you look at both the Switch and the Steam Deck, pre-Steam Deck, the Switch was the most powerful dedicated handheld console on the market. Of course, you did have the GPD win and all those kinds of things, but those really weren't. I mean, they have game controls on them, but their operating systems, I think it either ran Linux or Windows or something that's not dedicated for gaming. So it was just a handheld computer that just happened to have game controls. And honestly, 90%, I mean, yeah, 90% of the market it's priced out by the GPD one anyway. It was never really a competitor. Um, but the Switch was the most powerful, viable gaming console on the market. Not gaming console, God, no. Um, the most powerful handheld on the market, which appeals to a lot of people. I mean, past the family audience, think about people who travel a lot and just want a dedicated gaming solution, you know? People who go on a lot of business trips, people who don't stay in one place a lot, you know? The Switch is perfect for them. They don't have to lug around a big console, you know. Maybe the laptop isn't powerful enough. The Switch appeals to those kinds of people who have to travel a lot. It also appeals to people who don't want to sit down on their couch and play a game. They'd rather be go around the house, maybe play it in their living room instead, or their bedroom, on their bed, outside on the porch. Um, and I think that that class of that audience is growing more and more because of smartphones. You think, With smartphones, we're so used to being able to take our entertainment and our work and our everything anywhere we go. And now we can take more hardcore gaming experiences anywhere we go, whether that be around the house or where have you. And I think that you know it sounds stupid, but being able to play a game on your bed instead of on the couch, I mean, I think that's a big convenience for people, and I think people are sort of used to that, and that's what makes the Switch uh, sort of convenient, more appealing, and all of that. And of course, there are just the people who want the very best in gaming, uh, and can't buy a GPD winner, don't want to deal with that shit. Um, and the Switch appeals to them because it's more powerful than the Vita, most powerful console, and even the homebrew scene. I mean, you can load Android, you can load Linux onto the Switch pretty easily, given you have the right type of Switch. I've done it. It's finicky. It is finicky. It's not doesn't work amazingly, but it does work. And if you want a little mini Linux machine, I mean, there you go. You can use your Switch. Now that that's kind of changed, the Steam Deck outpowers the Switch. I don't know by how much, but it's definitely by multiple orders of magnitude. It's by a lot. The uh, the Nintendo Switch was underpowered even when it came out. Before handheld, it wasn't. And the Steam Deck seems to be performing on par with the PS4 and Xbox One. So the people who want that, you know, the the latest and greatest in handheld gaming, well, now they have the Steam Deck, which is only I think $400 for the cheapest model. And the business user, people who travel a lot, now they have a better solution. They have the Steam Deck. It can play more games. It can play a hell of a lot more games on the go. So now you're getting more bang for your buck with the Steam Deck, despite the fact that it's more expensive, just because you can play more games. And if you want to, you can take it around the house, obviously, like the Switch. And I think those audiences that I think there's overlap there, and I think there's a fair bit of overlap. I know a lot of the Switch's install base are families and are children, and those are people who might not be interested in something like the Steam Deck. But if you're selling the most powerful I mean, the most successful video game console of all time, or something that's getting to that point, that's not your entire audience, especially these days, when there's, the Switch has to compete with smartphones, has to compete with, YouTube, has to compete with everything else. Um, it's not all just families. So I think to say that the Steam Deck and the Switch don't compete with each other is is kind of silly, because they do, at least at on some level. And I think of Valve saying the former, and even Valve releasing the Portal collection on Switch, which was sort of a weird move. I think that was them, trying to signal to investors that, don't worry, we're not going up against this behemoth. We're doing our own thing. But really, they're not. I mean, look at the Steam Deck. I mean, if the Switch didn't exist, would the Steam Deck exist? Or at least would it exist in the way that it does? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. The Switch definitely made the market look very viable. And I mean, the Steam Deck is kind of the same thought process as the Switch. Put console games, bring them on the go. Now, of course, there are problems with the Steam Deck. I don't have one, but I've looked at reviews, and apparently there is a problem with, you know, Valve it isn't great at making a super refined product out of the gate. Um, Now, no console manufacturer has a perfect first run of consoles, but I'm not talking about the hardware, I'm talking about the software. There's a problem with making certain games run. Even certain games that are supposed to run, that have the green check mark, won't run correctly. Um, so that's a big issue. There's also the stock issue where you can't get a Steam Deck right now from Valve. You would have to buy an aftermarket one. And I know that every console manufacturer is having an issue with stock, but you can go into the store right now and buy a Nintendo Switch. So, that's another issue. But I mean, I don't think the Steam Deck is going to outsell the Switch. I think maybe if there's a Steam Deck 2, it might. But I do think that the existence of the Steam Deck is is good. It's good to have Nintendo have competition. Even as somebody who doesn't own the Steam Deck, I like the fact that the Steam Deck exists because Nintendo, you could tell they're getting a little comfortable in their position. You look at the end of the Wii U life cycle, the beginning of their Switch life cycle. Um, Nintendo was being sort of generous in terms of games, in terms of new IPs and sort of in terms of venturing out. And you really feel right now that Nintendo is getting comfortable and is no longer has the desire to innovate as much, no longer has the desire to throw the customers as much of a bone. Like you think during if Nintendo was in the same spot as they were in the Wii U, during the Wii U's lifetime, they wouldn't be pulling that Nintendo Switch online like premium subscription bullshit. They would never do that. They would give you N64 games for free. They would probably, I can't say for sure, but they're at. My point is that they're acting like kind of kind of ballsy, like they can get away with murder. And Nintendo isn't the only company that does that. Every gaming console. Every gaming console manufacturer does that. Sony uh, did that with the PS4. You know, they no, they did not with the PS4 as much as the PS3. Making this super expensive console that was super hard to develop for, just because there's Sony, because the PS2 was successful. Xbox did it with the Xbox One, making this horrible all-in-one machine that has to be online all the time, has to be connected to the Kinect all the time. They did that because they thought they could, because of the goodwill of the Xbox 360. And now, you know, Nintendo might be doing that, especially if they make a new console. It would be interesting to see if they try to take advantage of their goodwill from the Switch. Uh, but they're definitely, you look at Nintendo's decisions and what they're doing right now.